A Conversation with Pop Tot.
I always remember growing up, and you and I always had a huge list of movies we always went to watch. Some stupid, some entertaining, some action, some sci-fi, some comedy. And one of them, the comedy, is one that we're going to be talking about today, is a little movie called Accepted.
Yes.
And Accepted is this genius little movie that came out in 2006, which is hard to believe it's 14 years ago.
I know, I was thinking the same thing.
It made nothing. It made less than $40 million. It has a ton of very noticeable names. Yeah, it's crazy. Like when you look at it, you're like, wow, there's, you got Justin Long, you got Blake Lively, you got Jonah Hill, you got Lewis Black. Like you just got all these amazing people in this movie.
Right.
And I don't know many people that have seen it. So
the gist of it is Justin Long is playing Justin Long. He's a great sarcastic character. You can tell it comes through in the writing.
As the graduating class, we wanted to leave behind a legacy that inspires future students to take initiative rather than spend their time, privately defacing women's fitness magazines. I went to read an article about no carbs and higher reps the other day, and the pages
You are a rotten egg.
Quick-witted. He's a lovable guy. Probably not the most popular guy in school, but he's kind of a con artist, that kind of guy. And he doesn't get accepted into any college. And his dad is one of those tough as nail bullshit guys.
Old school, no bullshit. Yep.
Are you saying you don't want to go to college?
He doesn't get accepted, and his dad's really disappointed, and so he just gets this wild hair up his ass that he's going to fake getting accepted and creates a school based off of because this is like a college town. I guess there's it's
Harmon.
Harmon.
Yeah, it's down the street.
So,
yeah.
Right. So Harmon, instead of Harmon, he creates South Harmon Institute of Technology.
And Harmon's a rip off of like a Harvard or Yale, pretentious douchebags and all that.
Wait, South Harmon Institute of Technology?
Yeah.
You realize that makes it shit, right?
So they all band together and create the school, which was just a way to basically have their parents' money, which is like huge fraud.
Yeah. They all paid first semester's tuition?
Oh yeah, $10,000 a piece.
You're faking a fraud.
But they create something good out of it. And it's
okay. I'm sorry. What do you want?
When I got accepted here, it was the first time my parents ever said they were proud of me.
There's so many funny scenes in this, and
Oh no.
Ask me about my wiener.
I think if I was to say the only thing I never really liked about this, he's got the annoying smart little sister.
Yeah. Who was always like a step ahead, and she was like the kind of like the Daphne from Scooby-Doo, where she was putting things together, and I'm like, she's supposed to be like 12 or 13, and she knew everything, and I'm like, all right, whatever. But
it reminds me of so many other characters in movies around that time, like Euro Trip. He had a smart little brother.
Yep.
They were always annoying, getting in the way, and always knew better than them, and they were the parents' favorite. It's a very stereotype.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's pretty amazing about Accepted is it's kind of the Duck on the Pond movie. And it's one of those, like, you can just sit there and turn around and like, oh, that's hilarious. The one guy, there's this unusual kid that he's like, oh, I want to learn how to blow shit up with my mind. And you're like, oh, that's hilarious. It's kind of silly. But then it's actually kind of telling this interesting story about finding your place in society and how we always kind of, you wake up, you go to school, and then you're expected to go to college, and you're expected to go to this amazing job and have this family. And that doesn't always work out for people. There's always something that happens. So
without getting caught in the weeds, I have a little bit of background in higher education, and I can tell you the segments where Justin's Bartleby character is walking around and trying to get to know the actual college of Harmon, that is a true statement, because colleges at the end of the day, people forget that they are money makers. They are driven by profit. And so there are a lot of schemes in there that forces the child or the student to pay more. You want to be this, but you have to take this, but that has nothing to do with your major.
And doesn't work out at the benefit of the child or the person going to school.
Well, see, there's this photojournalism class, but they said it's only for journalism majors. And then there's this art photography class, but they said it's for fine arts majors. So my advisor said it would be best not to take either one or something because certain photography classes don't apply to a degree in photography.
But the school itself, and even there's a few times in it, he even says, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Wow, that makes no sense at all.
I know.
You know, it's one of those movies that's kind of interesting too, where he's able to create this school and this college and this college website and all that. And there's so much of that wouldn't be possible today. It just wouldn't.
No, you're absolutely right. You think about it, it's farcical that even if everybody paid their $5,000 or $10,000 tuition to go to the school, that he'd have enough students there to all of a sudden build a program or an actual working school out of what was a rundown psychiatric hospital.
Right, which is crazy. And I mean, like I said, it's one of those movies where you can just always take it at surface level, or you could be like, wait, they managed to clean a psychiatric abandoned hospital in like a weekend. But but I mean, then you realize that the movie, it's actually trying to say something. And I don't really necessarily think it's like the most highbrow thing.
Oh,
like,
no.
It doesn't take a genius to see that our college system is broken and has been broken, but it's trying to say something in a very unique way. And that's something I really appreciated about it. And you can tell he wasn't really necessarily doing it. No, he wasn't doing it from a malicious place. He was just trying to fit in, and his motives were very sound. And it was one of those things where I'm like, well, why would you do that? Like, no, he felt like he was almost kind of being black sheep from his family because he didn't get accepted.
Where are you going?
I didn't really,
Bartleby screwed around, and now he's not going to college. He's thrown his life away.
And then it was kind of being taunted in his face because he wasn't. And so you felt for him, and you're like, well, I can understand that desperation. You came up with kind of a goofy idea that you really didn't think was going to go anywhere. And so there's something really sweet about the movie, and it's very endearing.
Right. No, and there's some, I mean, there's a lot of great moments. There's a bad guy. He's a college, he's a college senior, and he's been tasked by the college. Right. He's been tasked by the Harmon dean to get rid of this building because he wants to make some sort of gateway. And that's the main plot. The interactions he has with this guy, because he's a little smarter. Bartleby's character is always a little smarter than this guy, and he tends to always have the upper hand verbally with him.
It kind of demonstrates the typical bullied behavior. Like Bartleby is probably somebody that was very much bullied by somebody like that, and he's learned to fight it by being a smartass.
You know I can find the leaseholder.
I do.
Well, could you tell me?
From like Jonah Hill's side, where he plays this guy that his family is just this lineage of, they go to school, and he's a very smart guy, and he just was so hell-bent on going to Harmon, but Harmon's just full of people that he didn't really fit in with. They're a bunch of jocks and assholes, and that, I mean, even one scene, not to really spoil anything, they basically torture him.
No, they do.
And so you kind of learn from that other side where, you know, just because you're meant to be this doesn't mean you're actually meant to do that. And, you know, you should go with what makes you happy. And so that was kind of interesting. And of course, it's probably one of the funniest trailer quotes of all time is the "ask me about my wiener" thing, where he's just running around and
ask me about my wiener.
It's just so stupid. But again, there's something so just lovable about it.
Ask me about my wiener.
Probably the best part of the movie, which is a huge scene where Bartleby and the whole school goes before the Ohio board, which just takes place in Ohio, and they go before a Ohio educational hearing and to try to get accreditation for the school. And you can already kind of see where it's very obvious they don't have this, they don't have this.
Dean Van Horn is right. You must have a faculty as defined by the state, or you cannot be accredited.
Bartleby's just like, well, okay, here's this long ass speech, and it's amazing. It's a great speech.
It is a great speech, and I absolutely love that part. And
Answer the question.
Nah, I'm not gonna answer your question because you guys have already made up your minds. I'm an expert in rejection, and I can see it on your faces.
there's a Al Pacino movie called Sin of a Woman, and it's before an academic session like that, and there's that Al Pacino gets in there and really just goes to town on it.
Sir, you're out of order. Out of order. I show you out of order.
It kind of has that same flavor and feel to it,
Yep.
probably with a little more comedic reaction to it.
Right.
But I get a little, not teary-eyed, but I get a little moisture in the corners of my eyes from watching it because Justin Long performs really well and just goes to town on it.
Because you don't need teachers or classrooms or fancy highbrow traditions or money to really learn. You just need people with a desire to better themselves. And we got that by the shitload at South Harmon.
It's one thing to, to deliver a speech, to deliver your lines, but the emphasis and to understand where he's coming from really just speaks to what he was able to do. And like I said, the writing really just benefits it. But I mean, he basically calls out people for underestimating them and judging them based on the fact that, they are a group of kind of misfits. They're people that haven't been selected from society. Maybe they just fall just under the barrel of what they need to be. And therefore they've been kind of casted out. And that's not fair because they clearly bring something to the table. It might not be, world bending, world changing athletics or academia or whatever, but
no one says it better than the weird character Glenn that ends up being a chef. Like you could tell that guy was not going to fit anywhere.
No, but then he ended up being an amazing cook.
Right, and that because he was able to find his passion.
Right, and I guess that kind of character almost, in a weird way, is kind of like a summarization of the movie. He's this very weird, oddball, hilarious character, but then all of a sudden, he finds that he kind of likes to cook, and then at the end, he's got this huge kitchen, Gordon Ramsay-esque, and you're like, wow, this is okay. I can kind of see this is where the movie was kind of aiming to be.
I'm not gonna lie to you, they look disgusting.
This shit will get you high on flavor alone.
Glenn, I love your wads.
It's the perfect weekend movie. It's not going to take up a lot of your time. It's a very brisk 92 minutes.
Right.
Every scene, and Miss Tot hates this word when I use it for filmmaking. Every scene is efficient. It feels like every scene has a reason to be there. It's not a minute too long, not a minute too short. It just gets to where it needs to go. And characters lead that, and their motives and their actions constantly make the story go. So you're never like, wait, what? Why is this guy here? Or whatever. It all makes sense. And I really adore the movie.
I do as well. Like I said, there's just these certain movies that I watch, and this is one of them. It's just kind of well put together, and I really feel like if you have not seen it or you haven't seen it in a long time, give it a watch.
I obviously highly recommend it as well if you haven't been able to get that from our rant. If you're a fan of, college comedies like a Van Wilder or old school or any other particular film like that from the early 2000s, then I highly recommend this movie. I don't think you can go wrong. Like I said, at 92 minutes, I don't feel like you're really losing a whole lot, and it's overall just really entertaining, and I think well worth your time.